Mr. President,
The senator from Nevada.
I want to express how deeply concerned I am about the senior senator from Alabama's blockade of senior military promotions, which threatens to leave hundreds of non-political, routine military positions unfilled, all because he wants to repeal the Department of Defense's policy that allows service members to be able to seek and travel for reproductive care. This is a move that risks our national security in order to rob our service members of their ability to make their own family planning decisions. Service members who, frankly, are sacrificing so much to keep our country safe. And so failure to fill these positions poses a risk to our nation's military readiness and our ability to ensure that these critical roles are filled with the personnel that we need. And don't just take my word for it. Seven former secretaries of defense from both Democratic and Republican administrations have voiced their concern and opposition to these holds. Secretary Austin and General Milley have also repeatedly stated that these delays pose a clear risk to America's military readiness. In a moment, I'll be asking the Senate to confirm by unanimous consent calendar number 110. Included in this batch of 23 routine military promotions is the current Vice Commander of the Air Force Warfare Center at Nellis Air Force Base. This is the home of our Air Force fighter pilots right in Nevada, where America's air combat tactics are developed, where they're refined, and where they are perfected to ensure that we keep pace with current and emerging threats. And training and instruction takes place right at the Nevada Test and Training Range, which provides the largest air and ground military training space in the continental United States for testing and evaluation of weapon systems and advanced air combat training. Because of one senator's anti-choice blockade, the Vice Commander of the Air Force Warfare Center in my great state of Nevada, which oversees more than 13,000 military and civilian personnel, is unable to receive the promotion and the pay increase that he deserves. He's unable to transition to his next duty assignment, and his replacement is unable to assume their duties and move their family to Las Vegas. This hurts military families. This hurts Nevada. This hurts the United States of America. And we will also experience several high-ranking vacancies that are going to be left open because of this senseless blockade, including chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the top leaders of the Army, Marine Corps, and Navy, and even the commander of U.S. Cyber Command. You know, we have a responsibility to keep our nation safe, to protect our homeland and our troops all around the world. And that begins by making sure that we have the appropriate professionals in top positions to lead our service members. Nothing, I repeat, nothing could be more important than that. So I strongly urge my colleagues to stop playing politics. I strongly urge them to end this anti-choice blockade so that we can fill critical military positions like those in my home state of Nevada and around the world. We cannot waste any more time. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of calendar number 110, that the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, that if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate, that any statements related to the nomination be printed in the record, and that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
The senator from Alabama.
reserving the right to object, Mr. President, you know, this is the 6th or 7th time that I've come to the floor to stop my colleagues on the left from cramming down these nominations down our throat. but I will come to the floor as many times as possible. You know, we've spent almost 12, 13 hours, or I have, here in the last few weeks with these UCs. Last night we were here debating this for about 2 hours, and that's fine. That's what we're supposed to do here in the Senate. We're supposed to debate, and I'm not against that. But we also could have spent time voting. I understand the senator from Nevada has someone she wants promoted. I'm fine with that. She brings it to the floor. Senator Schumer brings it to the floor. I'll vote for them. I'm not here blocking nominees. I'm here from blocking all nominees at one time. So I would love to vote for her nominee. But Leader Schumer is responsible for that. He is responsible for the floor. Bring nominations one at a time. I'll vote for them. I'm all for the military. That's one of the reasons I'm here. But we got to use our time better. That's what Senator Schumer says. Our time is spent nominations. We've been here for about 5 months. We've been on vacation 30 days. And we could have done all these nominations in that amount of time. So it's amazing to me how we don't want to do our job one at a time instead of just doing them all at once. Senator Schumer has said so in a Dear Colleague letter this month. He says, the senator from Alabama has got a hold, and it doesn't look good for Republicans. I don't know what doesn't look good. I'm standing up for the rule of law. What's not a good look is the Democrats coming to the floor and defending an executive branch that is not doing their job. They're trying to do ours. I understand the senator from Nevada is a strong supporter of abortion, and that's good. We all have a different opinion about that. But even she didn't vote for this. She didn't vote for this memo that Secretary Austin pushed on the military. Nobody voted for it. I'm surprised that Democrats in Congress are supportive of the executive branch doing our job, that a lot of people spend a lot of money campaigning and trying to win this position. Let's do our job. That's all I'm asking. Let's do our job. We ought to be voting on every one of these nominees as I've got these holds. I'm not against voting for them. I'm against for voting all of them at one time. It would be better use for time if we would come here, vote, and go back to our office like we normally do. If Democrats were actually concerned about these nominations, and I'm going to say it for the 100th time, if they were actually concerned about our national security and the things that are going on around the world, we would be taking these nominees one at a time, and getting them knocked out, instead of worrying about coming here and doing this debate, complaining to each other about what's going on when the executive branch is doing our job and we're not doing ours. Today I saw some discussion from Senator Shaheen. I saw her talking about it on MSNBC today. Her bill that she's throwing out would simply change the law to make this memo legal. I do not support this legislation, but we ought to take a vote on it. That's what we do here. She wants to put a bill on the floor. Let's take a vote on it. And if the House and the Senate pass it and Joe Biden signs it, then, it's in the law. But if the bill fails, then Congress has spoken. So if Senator Shaheen's bill fails, Secretary Austin then should accept the consequences and the sense of Congress, follow the law, and suspend the policy. So if Democrats want me to drop my hold, then the answer is very simple. I have laid out two conditions for me to end the holds. Either follow the law or change the law. I'll drop my holds as soon as Secretary Austin suspends the memo. The burden's not on me to undo the policy, this illegal policy. The burden is on the Biden administration to follow the law. Democrats have mentioned that we've got some very important nominees coming up, and we do. That includes the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. I agree, very much agree, that this is a very important situation where we need a new Joint Chiefs of Staff. But we need to vote on some of these nominees anyway. These roles are too important for just put everybody in one group and send them here and nobody knows who they are and just run them through. But I'll have more to say on that later, but to this point, I hope I've been clear. I've laid out the conditions for my holds and when I'll drop my holds. These conditions have not been met, and I will not drop this hold until they are met. So, Mr. President, that's the reason I object.
Mr. President.
Objection is heard. The senator from Nevada.
Oh, and Mr. President, thank you so much for saying Nevada properly. I urge the rest of my colleagues to learn the proper pronunciation for our great state of Nevada. And with that, I'm going to respond to the objection, my esteemed colleague, Senator Tuberville. Nothing, the senior senator from Alabama, he's preventing this body from confirming dozens of key promotions. We do know who these military promotions are. They have been serving proudly, distinguishedly in our military. They are not unknown to us. They deserve their promotion. And you are threatening our military readiness and our national security. And we can confirm these nominations right now if the senator ends his blockade. And every day, these thresholds persist. Every day that you persist, you risk the U.S. national security and you risk our military readiness. And so, because we lack officials in key posts across the military at this critical time, we know that we need to do this en bloc. It is what we have been doing. These men and women serving proudly, ready for their promotions, ready to take their next duty step. And I just want to make one point before I go. Make no mistake, our adversaries, they are watching this very closely. Russia, China, Iran, and others, they understand how this hurts our military, and they will look and find a way to take advantage of this. So I'm deeply disappointed that you're continuing to object. We hope that you'll reconsider. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The senator from Nevada.
Mr. President, I come here today to talk about Police Week, but before I do, I had the opportunity to listen to my colleague from Nevada push an important point here. And it's not lost on me, the general public watching this, thinking how crazy this argument is at the end of the day. I just heard my good colleague, Senator Tuberville, basically say he's not opposed and actually would vote for the individual that Senator Rosen just said she was asking him to support for promotion. He said he would do it. The only thing that is holding him up is that instead of what we have traditionally done in this body through unanimous consent for promotions for the men and women in our military, which is a procedure that we do all the time, he's forcing it to go to a floor vote. Makes no sense. Makes no sense to me, makes no sense to the American public who's watching this, and clearly is an abuse of the use of the powers that we have as senators in this body. And so I have to point that out because this is what we're dealing with, unfortunately, at times when the American public just wants us to work together to move forward. Men and women in the military, seeking promotions. That's what this is about. And we should be supporting them because they are the ones that stand guard, protecting us and our national security. So I just have to point that out, that the craziness sometimes in this body I see is just nonsensical. But let me talk about another thing that is so important that is happening this week and across the country, but particularly here in Washington, D.C., is Police Week. If the American public watching this, you have not been to the Police Memorial in Judiciary Square, you should. Because every single law enforcement agency in this country is recognized, unfortunately, at this memorial by a death. And it is the only way we as the American public can stand up and say, we see you, we hear you, and we know you are standing guard, and we care. And we want to show respect, not only for you who made the ultimate sacrifice, but for your family and your friends and everyone else to have the ability to come together to recognize the men and women who serve in our military and make that ultimate sacrifice. As we go about our daily lives, our police officers are the ones protecting us and our families. They know that their job puts their lives in danger. And their families know that every day when their loved one leaves for work, they may not come home. It is a sacrifice for the individual getting up and leaving that house, and it is a sacrifice for the loved ones who watch that individual leave. Why do I know that? Because I'm married 25 years to a federal law enforcement officer, now retired. And I remember in the middle of the night when he was on call, and he got that call and his boots are by the side of the bed, slips his feet into them and walks out that door. And every spouse, every loved one who sees them leave has always in the back of their mind, are they going to come home? And so this is important that we recognize the men and women who are representing and protecting our communities every single day. I am honored to work with Nevada's police officers throughout my career. I have worked with police departments across my state to crack down on crime, to prosecute offenders, and to keep Nevadans safe. Not only have I worked in my state as a prosecutor, I have worked here in the District of Columbia, in the United States Attorney's Office as a prosecutor. I have witnessed the hard work and dedication of our police officers firsthand. Whether you're a state police officer, a local city or county police officer, or federal officer, I have worked alongside them. I know what they do day in and day out. And that's why my role in the Senate will always be to fight for our law enforcement. It has been my priority to listen to the needs of police departments throughout Nevada, both big and small, throughout our federal law enforcement agencies, to ensure that I'm doing everything I can to get them what they need to protect our communities. And that includes securing funding for more resources, for improved technology, and yes, better training for our officers. Last year, alongside Senator Grassley, I was proud to make sure that Congress passed the biggest increase in burn JAG grant funding in the last 10 years. And to help put an end to tragic law enforcement suicides, I introduced and passed legislation to increase data collection on suicide and support peer counseling programs that can improve police officers' mental health. Now, while these investments are so crucial to ensuring our officers are prepared for the job, far too many smaller police departments just can't compete with their larger counterparts for resources. I know this. I know this from our law enforcement agencies in my rural community in Nevada. Madam Chair, you know this as well, Madam President. Our law enforcement communities in our rural areas, which are much smaller, have to really fight for resources that they need. Over 90% of police departments nationally, including several in Nevada, have fewer than 200 full-time officers. That's why I've worked with Senator Grassley to introduce the Invest to Protect Act. This legislation would set aside grant funding specifically for smaller local police departments, including our tribal law enforcement, to ensure they can access the resources they need to keep our families safe. Police officers in northern and southern Nevada have told me about how hard it is to do their jobs when they are short on personnel. They're stretched too thin, and that makes it harder for them to protect our communities and their own lives. The Invest to Protect Act will keep these police departments with recruitment and retention so they have enough officers to serve their communities. These are important jobs that make good careers in public service. So in honor of Police Week and the sacrifices our officers have made to protect us, I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to join me and Senator Grassley in supporting the Invest to Protect Act. And with that, Madam President, I yield the floor.